Hello, it is Whovian Monday and today I will be talking about Flatline, the 9th episode of Doctor Who Series 8. As always, do not watch this if you haven't seen the episode. We start with a man on his own, in his flat, on the phone to the police. He disappears, he reappears in the wallpaper, and then credits. Then we join the Doctor and Clara in the Tardis. The Doctor is dropping her home after a trip. Clara is making a big fuss about making sure she has all of her belongings with her because Danny isn't okay with her leaving stuff on the Tardis, even though he is completely okay with her travelling with the Doctor. He's completely okay with that. He absolutely knows about that and is fine with it. Clara notices that the door to the Tardis is smaller than usual. They leave through this new smaller door and realise that the Tardis is smaller on the outside. Smaller on the outside than it usually is. And they're in Bristol, which is not at all where they're supposed to be. The Doctor is excited about not knowing what's going on and he sends Clara to go look around while he goes back into the TARDIS. Clara finds a mural in a subway. She bumps into some men on community service, including Fenton, who is in charge and is annoying, and Rixie, who is a graffiti artist and is not annoying. Rixie explains to Clara that all the people whose images are in the mural have disappeared from the estate. Clara goes back to the TARDIS, but it is now even smaller. It is now this size. But the Doctor is the same size and is therefore trapped. He says something nearby is leeching the external dimensions. He gives Clara the psychic paper and the sonic screwdriver so she can investigate. Nothing is more amusing in this episode than the bits where you can see the Doctor's head or the Doctor's hand poking out of this little tiny TARDIS. He also gives her an earpiece which allows him to communicate with her and to see what she sees. Clara puts the TARDIS in her bag. She's excited about the opportunity to be the Doctor. She bumps into Rixie again and he shows her the flat of the last guy to go missing. There's a weird desert-type landscape thing on the wall. She shows Rixie the Doctor in the little tiny TARDIS to convince him to stay after he is a bit freaked out by her and her theories. The Doctor says that something is still draining energy from the inside of the TARDIS. Clara and Rixie go to the house of the first person to be reported missing, where they meet a police officer. Clara pretends to be an MI5 agent with the psychic paper. The Doctor thinks that the missing people could be in the ward, so Clara takes a hammer to them, a hammer which the Doctor passes to her through her far too small bag. Another great visual gag. The police officer goes to take a call in the other room and is sucked into the floor. Clara and Rixie and the Doctor find her nervous system flattened against the wall, and the Doctor realises that that desert landscape in the previous flat was actually some flattened human skin. Something is trying to understand us to understand 3 dimensions, and they are 2-dimensional. In the room, things are starting to get flattened, including the door handle, so they can't leave. While Clara and Rixie escape through a window, Danny calls Clara because she is supposed to be having lunch with him and he's waiting for her. She lies and says she's not doing anything particularly interesting. She might be a bit late, but nothing's happening, nothing weird is going on. The Doctor calls her out on lying to him. Danny isn't okay with her continuing to travel with the Doctor because he doesn't know about it. Back at the subway memorial, the community service guys are about to paint over the mural when Clara and Rixie arrive and get them to stop. The Doctor realises that the missing people are the mural. The 2D creature things are mimicking the people they have killed. Stan, one of the community service guys, is sucked into the wall and everybody else scarpers as the paintings begin to move. They run into a train yard type building place, and Clara successfully takes charge. She says she is the best chance they have of staying alive. She is trying to be the Doctor. She is trying to act how the Doctor would in that situation. And there's a great interchange between her and the Doctor where they talk about lying and how people with hope will run faster. The Doctor communicates with the 2D creature things, which is apparently what I'm calling them, by transmitting pi with his sonic screwdriver. They respond with the number 55, which Rixie realises is the number on Stan's jacket, who is the guy that was killed in the subway. They then respond with the number 22, which corresponds with George's jacket, who is in there with them, and he disappears into the floor. They get George. They get George. The rest escape through the one exit into a railway tunnel. Al is carried off by a 3D hand made of brick. The 2D creature things are becoming 3D now. The Doctor has made a contraption which will restore 3 dimensions to things that the 2D creature things have rendered in 2D. He calls it the Tardis, which is very clever. Clara uses it on a flattened door so they can escape to a new tunnel. She flattens it again, but the 2D creature things now have the ability to restore dimensions, and they open it again. They look really impressive. I thought they were very creepy. They managed to look both 3-dimensional and 2-dimensional. And these 2D, 3D creature things are now chasing Clara, Fenton and Rixie, who are the last standing. In an argument, the TARDIS has dropped down a hole onto a train line. A train is coming and the TARDIS shields are down. What is the Doctor to do? Clara tells him to go or Adam's family and to move the TARDIS with his hand, like the Thing. Best visual and best reference. This episode was just full of great visuals. It was so imaginative. He succeeds and does a little dance, which is amazing, but then the TARDIS falls back down onto the line. The Doctor pulls a lever just before the train hits. He has put the TARDIS in siege mode, but there is not enough power to turn it off again. Clara, Rixie and Fenton have escaped into yet another tunnel. A train is coming and Clara stops it. She asks the driver if they can rig the train to drive at the blockage. Rixie goes to do just that and sacrifice himself, but Clara stops him and instead uses a hairband to drive the train. I like this moment between them. Clara was a good Doctor to her companion at this point. This wasn't the case throughout the episode. There was a bit where Rixie tried to show her some of his work and she dismissed him, which is again a doctory trait, but is not a doctory trait which she would have liked to have known that she had. Anyway, they jump off the train just in time because it gets flattened against the wall. While they're running off, Clara finds the TARDIS, which is now a cube and looks a bit like the Pandorica. Clara, Rixie, Fenton and the train driver are now in an office? A break room? A meeting room? I don't know. It was a room, there was a big table, and a poster. Clara works out how to get the TARDIS back to normal. She gets Rixie to paint a door on the poster, which she then attaches to a wall. The 2D, 3D creature things try to make the door 3D, but instead put all their energy into the TARDIS cube thing, which is perched behind it. The TARDIS becomes its normal self, and its shield blasts the creatures back. Then the Doctor gives a rousing speech, a nice traditional Doctor Who rousing speech. He says that they have decided to play the role of monsters, so he must play his role of the man who stops the monsters. He names them the Boneless, and then he sends them back to their dimension. The TARDIS takes everyone back outside, and the driver, Fenton and Rixie leave. There's a talk about the people who have died, and Clara is surprisingly accepting of the fact that some people have had to die in order for the rest to survive. This is a bit of a turnaround from previously in the series. Clara wants the Doctor to tell her that she did well, that she was a good Doctor, and he says that she was an exceptional Doctor, but that goodness had nothing to do with it. And then the episode ends with Missy watching Clara on an iPad, and she says, "Clara, my Clara, I have chosen well." Ooh. I really love this episode. It's my favourite since Robots of Sherwood and Listen. It was so imaginative, it was original and unique, but my favourite thing about it was that every 5 minutes or so there was something that you could write a 10-page essay on. This whole series we've sort of had Clara being the lead and the Doctor showing some traits which aren't particularly doctor-y, and in this episode we finally got a sort of role reversal thing happening where Clara was actually being the Doctor, or what she thinks the Doctor is. The Doctor seems to be realising a bit that Clara travelling with him is actually somewhat making her worse as a person. There was that bit early on in the series about Clara caring so that the Doctor didn't have to, but it's starting to look, as we're getting towards the tail end of this series, like Clara being the Doctor's carer is leading to her caring less and being careless. Also, we had the whole theme of people playing roles again, like in Robot of Sherwood where Robin was saying if we continue to play the role of the hero maybe we will become the hero. And then there's the thing with Missy. Oh, this could mean so many things. Yeah, I loved this episode. There was so much to like and there was so much to think about. The next episode is In the Forest of the Night, episode 10, and it is written by Frank Cottrell Boyce and directed by Sherry Folkson. Synopsis. One morning in London and every city and town in the world, the human race wakes up to the most surprising invasion yet. The trees have moved back in. Everywhere, in every land, a forest has grown overnight and taken back the earth, an impossible stranglehold of vegetation. The Doctor soon realises that the final days of humanity have arrived. The Next Time trailer for this episode hasn't looked particularly great, but the synopses I've read have made it sound interesting, and it's written by Frank Cottrell Boyce, who is amazing, so I'm going to wait and see. What did you think of Flatline? I hope you have a good day and see you tomorrow.